Elon Musk didn't remember the moment he collapsed. His last clear memory was standing in a conference room at SpaceX, surrounded by engineers, pointing at a screen filled with engine telemetry data. He remembered the blinking lights, the low hum of machines, and the weight of too many sleepless nights pressing on his shoulders. But the exact second he collapsed slipped away from his mind like a missing frame in a film. When he finally opened his eyes, he was met with the soft, persistent beeping of medical monitors and the dim glow of fluorescent lights overhead. It took him a moment to realize he was lying in a hospital bed. His mind raced, confused and foggy. The room felt cold, the sheets tucked too tightly around him, and he couldn't understand why he was there. Then a nurse gently touched his arm and said in a calm, reassuring voice, "You're safe, Mr. Musk. You're in the hospital. You fainted from exhaustion." He blinked slowly, trying to absorb her words, but his thoughts were scattered. Elon Musk had always been known for pushing himself harder than anyone else, but lately the pressure had intensified. Weeks of overlapping deadlines, intercontinental flights, and constant problem-solving had piled up until his body had no choice but to shut down. Still, knowing that didn't make waking up alone any less unsettling. Or at least he thought he was alone, until he noticed someone sitting quietly in the chair beside his bed. It wasn't a familiar face. The man looked to be in his 50s, wearing simple clothes and holding a mop handle loosely in one hand. A hospital janitor. Musk stared at him, puzzled, wondering why this stranger would sit there instead of doing his job. The janitor noticed and straightened up slightly, offering a shy smile. "You're awake," he said softly, with a hint of relief in his voice. Musk managed a weak nod. "Do we know each other?" His voice felt dry, barely audible. The man shook his head quickly. "Oh no, sir, not personally. My name is Ahmed. I clean the floors here." He hesitated as if unsure whether he should continue. "When they brought you in, you were alone. I saw that, and I just thought someone should be here when you woke up." The sincerity in his tone struck Musk deeply. He wasn't used to this kind of attention, the kind given without agenda or expectation. He was used to being surrounded by people who needed answers, decisions, signatures, or solutions. But here was a man who stayed simply because he believed no one deserved to wake up with no one by their side. Ahmed explained quietly that his son followed Musk's work with a passion bordering on obsession. "He watches every rocket launch," he said, smiling proudly. "He says one day he'll build something that reaches Mars before anyone else. You inspired him. So when I saw you unconscious, I thought, even the people who inspire others sometimes need someone too." Musk felt something warm tugging at his chest. It was rare for him to see how his work touched people outside the world of engineers and investors. He had always chased big dreams, but he rarely stopped to see how those dreams rippled into the lives of ordinary families. Over the next few days, the hospital became a place where unexpected kindness found him at every corner. Though the staff remained busy with dozens of patients, the nurses checked on him more frequently than necessary, always wearing tired but genuine smiles. One nurse brought extra blankets when she noticed him shivering, while another quietly placed a small radio on his bedside table so he wouldn't feel so isolated. A young doctor, barely older than some of Musk's interns, took the time to explain every detail of his condition, even though her shift had ended hours earlier. She spoke, carefully, answering each of his questions with patience. "You need rest," she insisted. "Your mind might be strong, but your body has limits." Her dedication reminded Musk of the many young professionals in his companies who burned themselves out trying to match his pace. Seeing someone so passionate about helping others forced him to reflect on how rarely he extended that same compassion toward himself. Even the cafeteria worker, a cheerful woman with silver-streaked hair, noticed he wasn't eating much. The next morning, she brought him a cup of tea prepared, the way my mother makes it, she said, placing it by his tray. "Try this. It always helps me when I feel tired." He took a sip out of politeness at first, but the warm, comforting flavor surprised him. It eased something inside him, something he hadn't realized was tense. As the days passed, Musk began paying closer attention to the people around him. The man changing the trash bags hummed to himself softly as he worked. The nurse who checked his pulse late at night whispered encouraging words to every patient she passed, even the ones asleep. Ahmed, the janitor who refused to leave his side on that first day, often stopped by to talk briefly, never imposing, always respectful. He told Musk stories about his son's dreams, his own struggles, and his belief that kindness should never be measured by wealth or importance, but by willingness. Lying there in that narrow hospital bed, Musk realized something he had forgotten in the whirlwind of deadlines and inventions. The world wasn't held together by rockets, cars, or satellites. It was held together by ordinary people choosing to care for one another when no one was watching. And for the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to slow down, not because he was forced to, but because the quiet, genuine kindness surrounding him made him feel human again. When Musk was finally discharged, he didn't simply walk out of the hospital the way most patients did. He paused at the entrance, taking one last look at the building that had become an unexpected refuge during his forced pause from the world. He felt different, lighter somehow, as though something inside him had shifted. The days spent recovering had given him time to observe people in a way he hadn't done in years. He had watched doctors rushing between patients with disciplined urgency, nurses whispering comforting words to the elderly, janitors quietly keeping the halls clean so others could heal, and cafeteria workers slipping extra snacks to children too nervous to eat. Every corner of the hospital echoed with small acts of humanity that often went unnoticed but never lacked meaning. Before leaving, he asked the head nurse if she could gather all the staff members who had helped him during his stay. She looked startled by the request, unsure whether a man as busy as Elon Musk truly had time for such a gesture. But she nodded respectfully and made the calls. Soon, a small crowd formed in the hospital's multipurpose room, nurses still wearing their scrubs, doctors with stethoscopes hanging around their necks, janitors with gloves tucked in their belts, and cafeteria workers who had taken a few minutes off their break to join. Musk walked into the room and, for a moment, simply looked at them. These were people who often went through long shifts without hearing a thank you, people whose kindness usually remained in the background of other people's crises. He felt compelled to change that, even if only for this moment. So he shook every hand, looked every person in the eye, and thanked them individually. Not with rehearsed lines or formal speeches, but with genuine words that came from the quiet transformation he had undergone inside those walls. When he reached Ahmed, the janitor who had sat by his side the day he woke up, Musk felt a surge of emotion. Ahmed looked nervous, unsure whether he should step forward, but Musk approached him first. "You reminded me of something important," Musk told him. "You reminded me that strength isn't always about how much you can carry, but about how much kindness you can give." Ahmed lowered his head, overwhelmed, and murmured that he had only done what he hoped others would do for his own son. Musk smiled and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder before surprising everyone in the room. He announced that he would be setting up a scholarship fund in Ahmed's son's name. It would cover his education, fully. Ahmed stared at him in disbelief, eyes glossy, lips trembling as he tried to form words of gratitude that wouldn't come. Musk simply nodded, knowing the gesture meant more than anything he could say. It wasn't about charity. It was about recognizing a kindness that had changed him during a moment of vulnerability. But Musk didn't stop there. He had spent days watching the incredible work the hospital staff did with limited resources, old equipment, and a level of fatigue that only those in the medical field truly understood. And so, he announced that he would be donating state-of-the-art medical technology to the hospital, including advanced diagnostic machines and upgraded patient care systems. He wanted the people who worked tirelessly every day to have the tools they deserved. The room fell silent as the weight of his commitment settled in. Some staff exchanged shocked glances, others wiped away tears quietly. Then Musk made one more announcement, one that came from his newfound appreciation for the emotional and physical toll the staff endured. He created a wellness program specifically designed for the hospital employees, counseling services, rest areas, mental health support, and even small stipends for staff who often worked overtime without complaint. His message was simple: "You healed me when I didn't even realize how broken I was." Let me support you the way you supported me. For Musk, the experience became more than a detour from work, it became a reminder of the invisible threads of compassion that held society together. The quiet kindness of people who didn't ask for anything in return had softened something inside him, something he had ignored for too long. And as he left the hospital grounds, he carried with him a renewed understanding that brilliance and innovation might change the world, but kindness is what keeps humanity moving forward.